This week on the Virtual Skeptics, Bob's feeling litigious. Eve consults the Ouija board. And hey, it's Kyle Sanders.
Yay.
I have staged a coup because I am your host, Tim Farley. And this is Virtual Skeptics. And we are live, a little bit late. Clearly my hosting skills are a bit rusty.
But we get to hear the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Or not.
That's all you hear. Sorry.
There's no fade out.
Yeah. I don't hear any of it on this end, so the way I'm hooked up. So, hi. Sorry we're 9 minutes late. And we're minus a Brian and minus a Barbara, but we've got Kyle. So,
Right.
let me introduce the panel this week. We've got, as usual, Bob Blaskiewicz, who's CSI's conspiracy guy, web columnist, and blogger for Skeptical Humanities, and a Swift blog contributor. We have Eve Siebert, who is the editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities and a contributor to Skepticality. We have me, Tim Farley, former JREF fellow, a blogger at SkepTools, Skepticality contributor, and creator of whatstheharm.net. And our special guest this week is Kyle Sanders. He's an instructor pilot and cartoonist, an organizer of the Pikes Peak Skeptic Society, and his illustrations and comic strip Carbon Dating can be seen in Skeptic Magazine and the Skeptical Inquirer.
Hey guys.
Hi, Kyle.
Welcome aboard.
I'm nervous and excited.
I think you should be fine. You appear to have a much better microphone than any of us have.
Yeah.
This is
So-
just a prop.
So, if you're watching live on Wednesday, you can participate in the show through the hashtag Virtual Skeptics on Twitter. I think I do have the Q&A app. Yes, we do have an actual question, which was, are we on? Which is yes. Thanks, Alex.
We hope.
We think we're on. Or in the comments on YouTube, because those actually exist and sometimes don't completely suck. On our comments are pretty good. I mean, YouTube in general, you know, comments are usually terrible. But our commenters are great. So, what do we do? I'm saying again because I say that too much. I guess it's time for the trivia question up at the top of the show. I'm not Brian, so I don't have videos back here, but I do have a dog back there sleeping on the couch. But what I do have...
Oh, no. You should have made people identify what sort of mammal that was.
Yeah, what mammal is behind me?
Dog.
Spoiler.
Look at that. Spoiler alert. So the question is today's skeptic history. It was the 10th anniversary of the court ruling, the final judgment being entered, against our old friend Kevin Trudeau. And it was the initial one back in 2004 when if you remember, he used to do infomercials selling crap. In particular, there was a quack remedy called Coral Calcium that he used to like to sell on late-night infomercials, and it was just utter nonsense. And he got sued over it by the FTC, and they entered this court order which basically banned him from infomercials, except the First Amendment means you can still write books. And it specifically said, all right, you know, if you want to do an infomercial about books, it actually says this, you know, it doesn't say if you want to, but it said that books were still okay. And sure enough, that's what he did. He turned around and started doing infomercials about books, and that's where the natural cures that they don't want you to know about and all those other crazy books came from.
It's unbelievable. I mean, some people just got a scam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he kept coming up with new stuff over and over and over. The FTC went after him several times after that, and finally they sent him to prison. So here's my trivia question for today. No Googling. The question is,
Mm-hmm.
where is Kevin Trudeau in prison?
Jail.
No, what specific state, city, municipality, secret volcano island?
Guantanamo Bay.
Might be the answer. I don't know. So that's your question. Where is Kevin Trudeau right now? Wearing shackles, we hope. And our first panelist to talk tonight, I think, is Bob. Is that right?
It may well be. So this week, a £500 million lawsuit was filed in the UK against the British Humanist Association and against the Witchcraft and Human Rights Network by, if you could bring up the first image, a Nigerian Buffy the Vampire Slayer named Helen Ukpabio. Because of these groups' objections to her bizarre exorcisms, which she performs on children. Ukpabio, who calls herself a lady apostle, claims the mystical ability to identify children who are witches. And she does this by conveniently redefining most childhood maladies and behaviors as the products of evil occult influences. According to a Nigerian film site, which trying to find stuff out about this person, a little dodgy, but she had put out films that espoused her odious view. Apparently one involved two child actors, it was like cannibalism or something, like eating their parents or something. I mean, something really bizarre and out there. And she also, you bring up the next slide, she produces her own music to promote her weird worldview. These are her two runaway, overnight runaway flop albums, Not As They Thought, and Superlative Jesus, or Jesusist. That was funny for English majors. All right.
Most just Jesusist.
Most Jesusist. So she first plopped into the public spotlight in the U.S., I think, when she planned to take her baby-harming crusade to Houston in 2012. She decided not to tour here because of the opposition that was brought on by her incapacity to in any way benefit anyone she ever comes into contact with. She was too religious for Texas. This year, the human vacuum cleaner, by which I mean a sucking dirtbag, was deported from the UK after she performed the first of two services of like a 3-week tour. And this was because she is a filthy slime weasel. That phrase wasn't in the press release from the Home Office, but her Pentecostal cult systematically targets children, the sick, and the elderly as being possessed by spirits. So slime weasel is certainly implied. An example of this attitude comes in one of her books, Unveiling the Mysteries of Witchcraft, in which she says, and I quote, "If a child under the age of 2 screams in the night, cries, and is always feverish with deteriorating health, he or she is a servant of Satan." So a sick child is probably the servant of Satan and needs to be exorcised. In 2009, Leo Igwe was attacked by a mob from this unrepentant, pestilential gob of lizard vomits church. And the same year, Nigeria's only shelter for children, branded as witches by this cankerous botch, was attacked. Quote, on July 3rd, 2009, Miss Ukpabio hired gunmen to attack the Child's Right and Rehabilitation Network in the state of Nigeria. The only children's center in Nigeria that takes care of children branded as witches, apparently with the mission to hurt its director, Sam Itauma. But when they could not get a hold of Itauma, who escaped through the roof of his house, they turned their anger on the protesting children of the center and beat them up. 2 of the children, 8 and 11 years old, were hit with rifle butts and were rushed to the government hospital in comas. She then sued that organization for $1.5 million because she's a festering pustule of moral failure. So what is the basis of this absurd defamation lawsuit? Surely we won't be sued. These groups certainly didn't lie and say or even imply that she was a good person. So, and if you look in one of her books, she claimed that children under 2 who cry or get sick are, quote, possessed with black, red, and vampire witchcraft spells, and that children who stamp their feet on the ground are trying to communicate with gnomes, which are apparently the earth spirits. So the humanists are saying that she's suing for £500 million on the basis of an alleged distinction between being accused of exorcising Satan instead of vampires. But as she published, that children are apparently the servants of Satan. So I don't understand exactly what distinction. It smells a little bit like a slap suit. So, of course, she has published that 6 children are servants of Satan. So even in the UK, I know it's an inconvenience for the humanists, but I don't think this one goes far. Her frivolous lawsuits tend to be thrown out by the basketful. So, yeah, she remains a danger, of course, to children in Nigeria. Her supporters have not hesitated to use violence in the past to intimidate people who disagree with her, and she hasn't stopped them. Witchcraft accusations are a problem in some West African countries. They can lead to the ostracization and victimization of innocents, and the scapegoating of people who can't defend themselves is all too widespread. This is low-hanging fruit. So one of the things that I noticed was following up on this is if you do an image search for this squid-licking gutter snipe, you get a whole bunch of photos of billboards and posters. And they all seem to be kind of like they follow a standard format, kind of like bullfighting posters, but for religious bullshitters. And I have 2 examples here. The first one is, let me see. Oh, I forgot to mention the babies.
The babies?
The babies. So there's the vampire baby, and there's the Satan baby. As you can tell, they're clearly different. Therefore, give me £500 million.
They're from completely different pages of the Halloween costume catalog.
Exactly.
And isn't the vampire baby under the influence of Satan baby?
He's doing the Satan baby's work. So
or
yeah.
Basement baby.
Basement baby. That's right. So yeah. So if you go to the next slide, we can look at some of these posters. And I remember seeing some of these from previous coverage of these witch hunts in Africa. So here's one of her. I don't know what the hell she's wearing.
I like it.
Yeah.
Mountie hat.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Wearing a kind of a Toreador's little jacket or something. Yeah, so they have a picture of the apostle or pastor or prophet or whoever, and then they say, are you suffering from things like bad dreams or under witchcraft attacks or have untimely deaths in the family or unsuccessful life with disappointments?
Yes, I have all of those things.
And more,
Clearly you're possessed.
You're talking to
Clearly you're being infected by vampire babies, right? And then so she to cure these things that almost everybody experiences, she says, and I love this, then come and receive your freedom from the Lord. Which is funny because it could be read. Okay, so.
Oh, grammar.
Yeah. So, and the next one is interesting. This one actually kind of comes full circle on something that we've talked about. So, are you under witchcraft attack, ancestral spirit attack? I'm not sure how Pentecostal these are. Oh well. And mermaid spirit attack.
Mermaid.
And this mermaid, if you remember the Mami Wada, the river spirit who sometimes drags people down. And I wonder if a mermaid spirit attack would be, because they are often, like young women, I wonder if it's like unwanted dreams or something like that.
It was that one vacation I had that got a little out of hand and just followed me right back.
Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, come and be disconnected from all spiritual attacks. Yeah, so this is, and it seems like this is the Christian manifestation or Christian interaction with local beliefs, and it is odious and absurd. But it's still getting people killed. And something that I noticed, people, if you go to my last slide, her Web of Trust rating for her website is listed as trustworthy but no child safety. I wonder if we could
fix that?
Encourage people, to go to her website and, poke around and see what you think about it. So, yeah, that is... Yep. No, really, tell me how you really feel. Yes. Good. So, yeah, that's what I got. I was rather annoyed. I really hate it when people try to muzzle criticism. And the only way to fight it is to double down and be more insistent and make sure that it blows back in their face.
Yeah, it's just so. Every time she comes up, I remember when she came up the first time when she was in the UK, because I follow a lot of the UK skeptics, and it was all over their feeds. And every time she describes people ask her, well, how do you detect a Satan baby? And everything she describes is a baby. Cries a lot.
I think she just hates kids.
To be fair.
No, Eve. This is not funny.
I see where you're going.
They could be a little possessed.
No, that's just. I
mean, it's just like
by the teething demon.
What a baby is just for confirmation bias.
Yeah. Well, okay. Blake has just said mermaid attack. It works. Hardly anyone has been attacked by mermaids after her protection.
Good point.
Well, there is that. It's a Homer Simpson. This rock protects you from lion attacks. Does it? No, never mind. But yeah, there was a riot last year because of the Mami Wada. Someone found a squid in a block of frozen fish, and it became this unknown thing that somehow kind of metastasized into a mermaid, and these
I remember
fish
you covered
sellers
it here on the show.
Yeah.
Their house got sacked by a group of the faithful. So it was a what's the word I'm looking for? There was a thing.
You seem to be petering out, Bob.
Yeah,
strong ending there, Bob.
I had vigor and creativity earlier today. But
for about 2 minutes, I was doing great.
Yeah.
So, if we have any questions, Alex Murdoch asked, could Aquaman's enemies receive guidance from her?
Aquaman?
Yeah, Aquaman.
Sure. I don't know about Aquaman, honestly. Is that...
Blake asked if I'm doing my Jim Garrison impression. I assume he's referring to these.
Your glasses?
Yeah. He said you'd know the reference, Bob.
With back into the right.
He says I'm doing Jim Garrison cosplay. No, I just my contact lenses were bothering me. So I think it is time for our special guest panelist, Kyle, to do his segment.
Uh-oh. I feel so
Off to you,
unprepared.
Kyle.
So not sure if anybody follows the webcomic, but I kind of planned things out perfectly so that the main character, Kate, in the comic strip getting pregnant happens to coincide with my wife getting pregnant. So I have plenty to write about.
Your wife is so dedicated to the comic strip. That's really good of her.
I said, hey, look, I'm publishing this next month. No, but she's 8 months pregnant, so we've been doing all of our baby research, and the business of being born is a terrible thing. Have you guys seen this? Not exactly a scientific documentary. It will also make you terrified to have a baby. And here's the thing, we're almost 30, so all of our friends are having babies or just had them, so we are inundated with unsolicited and just completely unscientific advice, and it's caused quite a few scuffles on Facebook. So in the upcoming Skeptic magazine, I've dedicated a full page to the not-so-common pseudoscience topic of midwifery. It's a very fun word to say, but it is also rife with pseudoscience. And
my father's an OBGYN. He has fixed more than his fair share of botched deliveries.
Yeah, it's really interesting because most people assume that midwife is a medical term, like nurse. But that's kind of up for debate. So, have you guys heard of dolphin-assisted birth yet?
Oh, yeah. Christ.
So I drew an artist's conception of what this looks like. In my mind, that's what they think it's going to be like. It's actually a thing, and where people go and they get into a pool or the ocean, either with previously wild or actually wild carnivores, and have their babies. So
I believe if you're actually a dolphin, it works fine.
Yeah, I mean, there are some dolphins of the pod that are trained and certified. However, for human birth, it's a little bit sketchy. I actually did, for those of you brave enough who want to see it, I do have a link of what it actually looks like. Here's baby coming out, and here's the dolphin right here. If you don't want to look at it, that's how close.
You know what? I think I would rather hang from a bridge by my optic nerve. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's pretty. It is a graphic video, but the link is going to be on the website there. But there is some hilarious news coverage if you don't want to watch that. So here's the thing. What you may not know, and what my wife and I didn't know, is that in some states, you might be better off with a dolphin midwife. And I say that not really facetiously. In 25 states, about half, they have what's called direct entry or lay midwives. Basically, right off the street, here's your certificate, go deliver some babies. So no surprise, this is very much in the home birth, water birth, alternative birthing center community. So it's something that we were not aware of. And so people who think midwife is a medical term, depends on what state you live in. And you really should check if that is a protected term or if they're just free reign, do what you want.
Right. There is such a thing as a nurse midwife,
yes.
That's a protected thing, and they're basically OBs, you know.
If they have RN, registered nurse, they are accredited and have gone through a school, you know. But there are plenty of naturopathic programs that'll do a 2-year. Well, there's the online certificates, which who knows which states you can get those in. Then there's the 2 or 4 year courses in naturopathic, holistic birthing, and they take classes like aromatherapy and homeopathy and things like that. And
do they teach you how to cut the baby out of a tuna net?
Here's the thing. Yeah, you would think so, but there's zero medical training, zero medical requirements for how to diagnose an emergency and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, so here's the thing. I think your chances are, 9,997 out of 10,000. It'll be fine, right? Everything goes fine most of those times. But in the event that you do have something abnormal happen, getting to the hospital is important, and delaying getting there, that's where the trouble comes in. So anyways, I put the illustration link up, and we'll have that up here in a second. But if you want, you can go to skeptic.com. They just put it up, so you can kind of see a sneak preview. Skeptic.com/carbon-comic. It was just posted, and some fun facts in there. You can go to the next slide real quick.
Okay.
So this is my favorite argument they like to make. They like to say that, oh, our midwives are experts at normal birth. Like, what does that mean? I mean, a normal birth, you could figure it out in the backseat of a car, pretty easy. It's when it goes wrong is when you need the help. So,
Right.
You don't want a pilot who's like, well, I'm an expert at, normal landings. What does that even mean? So that's my crusty sea captain there. And the actual statistics from the CDC, and these are misleading, is that, in a hospital, all cases, high risk included, so if they know you're in trouble, premature, whatever the situation is, 3 deaths out of 10,000 is what the hospital does. Now, according to the CDC, 18 out of 10,000 is what unlicensed or non-registered nurse midwives at home are going to average, which is kind of a scary statistic because that adds up to a lot. 10,000 seems like a big number, but to put it in perspective, so I am an instructor pilot. 1,000 hours, if we look at how many landings that is, I don't know, it's a lot. So by this point in my career as a pilot, as a normal doctor at a hospital, I wouldn't have killed anybody yet. But at this point in my career, if I was a unlicensed midwife delivering babies, would have killed a few. And it kind of puts it in perspective, the amount of babies they deliver. You're talking a year or two. So anyways, something that was pretty scary for us.
The midwives, I mean, they often just don't have the workload that a regular doctor has. They don't have the residency where they're catching babies. They don't have the private practice where they have dozens of people pregnant at the same time. They're often just it's like boutique birthing. Like they have a couple of people on their roster and they show up at home or whatever to put them in the pool of water.
Yeah, no, I do want to be clear. I have some OBGYNs in the family and some delivery nurses and everything. My wife is actually an operating room nurse, but the difference is we're not talking about in the hospital medical midwives. We're not talking about that. They deliver just as many babies as the MDs do. But
they train them sometimes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you have a normal birth, it's normal to have a RN midwife deliver. That's normal. Mm-hmm. But here in Colorado,
if you're a British person.
Or if you're British. Yeah, no, this is not for the Australians and the English, nobody internationally, because in Europe and Australia and all these other countries, you have to be licensed to be a midwife. So this is a U.S. only problem, as usual. So down the street, there is a Front Range Birthing Center.
Free range birthing?
So you're joking about that. The extreme birthing movement is popular here in Colorado, where women walk out into the wilderness alone to have their baby.
What?
Let's not talk about bears.
You are shitting us.
Cougar-assisted cesareans.
Yeah. So there's a whole world of pseudoscience in midwifery out there. I thought I'd just
Are you sure that's not like some type of parental fitness test? If someone says, yeah, I think I'll go out in the woods and have my baby, then they just don't let you have the baby?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
So wow. We have quite a bit of interesting stuff going on.
Wow.
But that's what I've got. So yeah, check it out. And it was a lot of fun to draw a little dolphin baby. So
that's awesome.
The flying baby. That's great.
Yeah, you've got to be within something like 7 minutes of a surgeon, really, if you're having a baby, because in that 1 in couple hundred chance that something goes wrong, like there's a cord accident, and you can't predict who's going to have a cord accident. It is kind of at random. You know, you need to be there. You need to have the adorable little sucker out in 7 minutes, or you could have a bad baby. You could have a brain damage.
Too. And that's the thing, is that so few of these naturopathic training programs have training on how to tell when something's going wrong. You know,
right.
Aromatherapy is great, right? I mean, we all know that that's legit, but it's not going to help you out in an emergency. And I got plenty of terrifying examples, but I got a lot of help from the Skeptical OB. I think it's .com. I got to look that up But got some advice from her and several other sources, and there's some terrifying examples out there.
Yeah. You need to have a monitor, you know, a heart monitor going. So when the heart rate starts to drop, that's when the clock is ticking. You know. The only time that I ever shut down, I used to have a different blog. The only time I ever shut down comments was when I was mad at midwives, and all the crazy girl power freaks came out. I mean, it was just nutty, the amount of bile that they had. I thought I was good. These people, they're pros.
Yeah.
Any concerns or evidence so far that the baby might be possessed?
Yeah, I mean, if you have
we might be able to tie these two stories together.
Good luck, right? That midwife's going to have her hands full.
Yeah.
We need some witch doctor midwives, and then we'd have it covered.
Totally. Absolutely.
It's an entrepreneurial activity right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess I am up next, and I am reporting from DragonCon. Well, I'm not at DragonCon, but DragonCon just ended, and I was super busy, and I won't go into a huge amount of detail, but there was a little sort of semi-scary side trip that we ended up going on where I had to go see a doctor the night before I was supposed to be at DragonCon.
Oh, no. You didn't go to that downtown hospital, did you?
No, but I did end up in a hospital emergency room, and then he did a whole bunch of tests on me, and it's like, you don't belong here, and sent me home. And it's like, well, that's what I said. But I was following the instructions that I was given, so who knows what that was about. But anyway, so DragonCon happens every year on the Labor Day holiday here in the U.S., which is the first Monday in September, which was this previous Monday. So it was over last weekend, and it's this 4-day, insanely large event. People compare it to Comic-Con, but it's really quite a bit different in that it's run as a sort of non-profit fan-run event. Comic-Con is very much a PR-driven studio company promotional sort of event.
I would compare DragonCon to a nerdy Mardi Gras.
It is very much a nerdy Mardi Gras, and large portions of the programming at DragonCon are produced by fans. They basically, give here, you take this room and do all Star Trek stuff, and you take this room and do all Star Wars stuff. And that's exploded to, I don't even know how many tracks they have, like 30-something. And that's
it's unbelievable.
Spread across 5 different hotels. And a few years ago, there's a whole bunch of skeptics here in Atlanta, like Monster Talk comes out of Atlanta and Skepticality comes out of Atlanta. And there was a podcasting track at DragonCon that was run by Swoopy of Skepticality. And they convinced the science track, which was then starting up, to have a little bit of skeptic programming. And it was a big, big success. They had like standing room only in the skeptic programming stuff. So they spun that off, and it became Skeptrack, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that it's taken over the adjacent rooms. So there's like a hallway that has 4 rooms on each side, and Skeptrack is one entire side of that hallway. And with the, they have the removable walls, and they've opened it up and turned it into one big long room. And we live stream it because we have a guy, Mark Ditzler, Abrupt Media here in Atlanta, who's a skeptic and loves to come out and set up all his junk and live record the video, and he sets up lights for us and stuff. So it's all very
so it's professionally done.
Yeah.
It's high quality production.
And this year, I instead of doing a panel myself, I decided to sort of create a new thing, and I pulled. Well, let me show you a couple slides first before I talk about that. One of the things I like about DragonCon is the costumes, and you'll see, and they're not just like Halloween costumes. These are like screen-ready replicas of things. So you'll see a stormtrooper, and like down to the rivet, everything is exactly the way you saw it on screen. But what I love is the people who are like, okay, I did my stormtrooper 3 years ago. Now I want to get more creative, and they find ways to do odd things. And here was one of the ones that I noticed in the Marriott.
Yes.
I called this, I didn't ask him what he was calling it, but I called it R2 Bender 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially Bender from Futurama dressed up as R2-D2 for Halloween.
Kiss my beeping glorious backside.
And full scale, you can see a person's blurring by behind there. So I thought that was awesome. And there was another Bender I saw, it's in my Twitter stream, that was a pink Bender who was campaigning for breast cancer awareness. And at one point, a whole bunch of Deadpools. He's a character from the Spider-Man comic.
X-Men.
And X-Men?
Just kidding. Go
and there's one of him, right? He's one guy. Well, there were 50 of them in the lobby and they were just like going around like a mob, 50, and they weren't identical. Like one guy had dreads, and another was a woman, and just like all these variations on Deadpool were just going around together and chanting and shouting slogans and doing dance numbers and stuff. So it was the Deadpool pool, and that's on my Twitter feed if you look for it, and just other nutty stuff like that. I should have pulled out the photo. You know the famous meme of the George, I never can pronounce his name, the guy from Ancient Aliens, and with the weird
Sicolis, yeah.
And he's saying aliens. Well, there was a guy dressed as not as him, but as the meme. He had the word aliens plastered on his chest in the right font. But he had made one change, which I thought was really clever, which was even though he's wearing a suit like you would wear on camera, you never see the guy from below the waist, so he was just wearing shorts because it's very hot.
If you've heard
So
of
I gave
Rule
him credit
34 for the internet, there's got to be Rule 34 for DragonCon, that if you think of a side character from that one TV show like 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
He appears, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of the fun sometimes or challenge is you go around and you see somebody with some awesome detailed costume, and it's like, okay, where is that from?
Yeah. One of my favorites from DragonCon, if I could there was someone who had done a cardboard cutout that they'd painted black, and they put it behind them, and it was like 4 seats from the Mystery Science Theater. So you had, Crow and Servo there, and it was amazing. I love it.
Anyone dress as the Marriott carpet this year?
We did see those guys. The Marriott. If what she's referring to is the Marriott Marquis, which is a major area that people hang out because it's kind of in the middle, has this huge lobby with a 44-story atrium, but it has this weird carpeting that's just like super bright and noisy colored, and it's like, who designed this carpeting, and are they trying to kill us? So last year, some guys actually went to the trouble of I guess they photographed the carpet, and they had fabric made of the exact same pattern and created camo uniforms in exacting detail, and painted their helmets so that when they laid down on the carpet, they would disappear into the Marriott carpet. And it's basically a costume that you can only wear in one place, which is DragonCon, and hang out in the Marriott lobby.
It was unbelievable.
And
Those
it was
pictures were
so
great.
popular that people wanted to duplicate their costumes, so they went and had the fabric made, and then they got into trouble because the company that makes the carpet is like, no, that's copyrighted, and you can't do that. But this was another costume, which is our friend and often panelist Barbara Drescher there in the head, and that's Swoopy, and that's Ani Aharonian in the back. It's a 3-part flying pig.
Pegasus.
Pegasus, yeah.
Hooray!
And that's
With
Yeah.
bell bottoms.
They walked in the parade. One of the things they do at DragonCon is they have a big parade for all the folks in costume, and it's a way for folks that aren't attending DragonCon to kind of interact with it a little bit because the hotels have gotten so crowded that you can't even come into the building unless you have a badge on. So Saturday morning there's a big parade, and a whole bunch of skeptics participated in it. Margaret Downey has sort of led an effort to get skeptics to dress up and be in the parade to sort of have a presence. And some other folks that are skeptics also dressed up. There was a whole squad of Bruces from among the skeptics. They had, like, any character you could think of that was named Bruce. They had a variation of Bruce Boxleitner, the actor, and Bruce Banner, and then they had a big banner that said Bruce on it, which was the Bruce Banner.
God.
Well, I thought it was going to
Basically
be the Australian philosophy department.
Yeah, they did that. They had several people dressed as the Mind If I Call You Bruce characters. Yeah. So what I started to talk about a minute ago was the thing I curated for Skeptrack. I was on basically 2 sessions on Skeptrack, and one was the wrap-up Q&A panel. But the big one that I did was on Monday, and it was called Ignite Skepticism, and I talked about it here like 2 weeks ago. Here's Ani again. Speaking. This is a Bruce Press photo. Hi, Bruce. And we reset the room so people could walk around and on stage, and everybody did 5-minute presentations, and it went way better than I expected. It went really, really well. I was very pleased. I was super nervous because I had recruited a whole bunch of different speakers, and the whole idea was to get a lot of different voices up there without having to have 11 more hours of programming. And the idea is you do these super short talks, and so you can get to do these. One of the talks was on Ernest Shackleton and whether or not his claims to being a scientific mission were valid or not. Ani talked about the Innocence Project. Another guy talked about the whole origin of the birther thing, which was he came up with this fact that was amazing, was that he found this forum post on the Volok conspiracy that he reckons is the original source of the birther thing, and it was there's me watching the thing from the sidelines. You can see Derek in the back there.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was asking a theoretical question. They were actually talking about the fact that John McCain was born in Panama, and talking about theoreticals of the rules about being president, and someone brought up the theoretical, and he went back and found the guy and said, I've worked back the timeline, and your forum post is actually, as far as I can tell, the source of the whole birther thing. And the guy's like, oh, crap.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was really cool, and it's just great. You can get all these different topics. So, of course, after it was over, everybody was so excited about it and loved it so much that not only were they saying we should do it again next year, but they were trying to convince me to do 2 sessions of it next year, one at the beginning of the con and one at the end of the con, which Nathan tweeted at that point, how much does it take to kill Krelnick? So,
yeah, we've been wondering.
It remains
No reason.
Remains to be seen whether or not that will happen, but we'll see. And some questions. I don't know, Nicholas. I don't know what you're asking, but
who did you see at the celebrity petting zoo?
Celebrity petting zoo. We walked by Carl Urban, Dr. McCoy from the new Star Trek, was coming in the hotel. We went and saw Terry Gilliam do a Q&A and thing, and he was awesome. I kind of expected him to be cranky and not want to be there, but he was promoting his new movie, Zero Theorem, and was very funny and great. And amazingly, I guess he draws a better class of audience because the people came up to do questions, and they were all good questions. Every single one of them. There was no need.
Get out.
For oh, I did not mean to do that.
Did I just hallucinate a cow?
Yeah, there was a cow. Someone posted a YouTube link, and I was trying to surreptitiously look at what it was, and I went to the wrong screen. So that was great, and I'm trying to think of what other celebs I saw floating around. That's one of the nice things about DragonCon, and actually is explicitly sort of designed into the way they book the guests and where they put them in the hotels, is they want to encourage them to hang out with the fans and be in the public areas and say hi and ride the elevators with people. It's definitely not you'll be going down the back hallways the whole time, so the paparazzi will never see you. You will often be in the restaurant, and here comes a guy from The Hobbit, and stuff like that. So
I got a
Gollum.
Good question from Ben Bradley, which I was wondering myself. Did you record your Ignite Skepticism? Is that going to be?
Yeah, Mark records everything, and usually they do videos. Ignite's a little different because we did 8 talks all in 1 hour, so I've got to get with Mark about chopping them up and posting them individually so that each topic will be separate. And so I hope to do that soon and get those out there, and so people can see what it is. Because I think what happened, and I got a lot of feedback at the end of the session, was people saw my blog post about what Ignite was, and they kind of said, I see what you're doing, but it seems kind of gimmicky. And it's one of those things that once you see it and people do a good Ignite presentation in front of you, you don't really get why it's a cool thing to do. It just seems sort of like a gimmick to force people to not linger over their slides, which it kind of is, but
yeah.
But it works. It works really well, and it's a great way to get a bunch of additional speakers up on stage and to cover some interesting topics that nobody would ever approve a 20-minute or half-hour or 45-minute talk on. But 5 minutes, sure, we'll spend 5 minutes on Ernest Shackleton or some other weird thing that you want to talk about, and maybe it'll spark some discussion.
I'd love to see it at more events. Some of the best talks at TAM every year are the Sunday papers.
Yeah, totally.
And I'd love to see these Ignite at more events. So.
Yeah, and I think their short talks are good launching off points, and I think they're good things. One of the things I would love TAM to do someday, it probably will never happen, but it would be cool if the paper talks were earlier in the event, or maybe spread through the event, so that there would be, because they're kind of at the end. In fact, originally at TAM, for many years, the papers were the very end of the event. It would end at noon on Sunday, on the assumption that most people wanted to use Sunday afternoon to travel home.
Yeah. I'd say do them in the morning every day,
Yeah, you could do, a couple of them each morning. And a similar thing with Ignite, you could potentially do a couple of Ignites as, just a little small time slot between 2 longer talks.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I hope to repeat it and make it a regular thing, and maybe we'll take it to, if other events want to do it and want to fly me in to curate it, I will be glad to do that.
We'll kickstart it. We'll kickstart your airline bill.
So any other questions? People are saying they haven't been to a con. Yeah, it's kind of unique. I'm not sure I would recommend, if you've never been to a con, making DragonCon your first one.
No, ease into it.
Because DragonCon, it's hot, it's huge, you spend a long time figuring out the geometry of the different hotels and how to get from one place to another, because maybe your 2:30 panel is in the Westin and your 4 o'clock panel is in Marriott.
Take you straight to that panel.
But there are smaller ones. Balticon in Baltimore has been going for 40-something years, and it's basically looks like DragonCon did 20 years ago. And it also has a skeptic track, and RavenCon, where Bob spoke, is in Richmond, and they're a smaller con, and they do skeptic stuff. Convergence is up in Minneapolis, and they do skeptic stuff. So if you want to go to one of these cons that has skeptics, and of course, Nine Worlds in London, if you happen to be in the UK. So they're all great events. Okay, so I have talked way too long, so we have to go on to Eve, I believe.
Okay, well, first, just a very quick update. Last time, 2 weeks ago, I made a psychic prediction, and it turns out I'm not psychic. It's already come false. So, oh well. Anyway.
But I mean, what's the batting average for a psychic, really? You could still be in there.
Yeah. Parts of it could still come true. But so this week, here's my story in a nutshell. Some people are upset that McDonald's is allegedly introducing Ouija board-themed Happy Meals for Halloween. It's not true, and it's a really stupid thing to be upset about anyway. And again, that's just basically my story. It's a tiny bit more detail. Last week, Amy Bruni, former cast member of Sci-Fi's inexplicably long-running series Ghost Hunters, posted the following picture on her Facebook page. And if you could bring up my first slide. She included the message, "So excited for McDonald's Halloween Happy Meal this year!" Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, winky face. People commenced having kittens and throwing conniptions. Here are a few responses. Ouija boards are not toys and should not be marketed to kids. It's a portal to hell. Literally. Don't mess with it unless you want.
To hell.
Yeah. Unless you want uninvited dark spirits invading your home and possessing your things and or family. But okay, now what if I actually do want? Well, whatever. Yeah. Oh, you're so Y-O-U-R. You're so excited to give children satanic Ouija boards. Buffoonish America just lovingly keeps giving over its ways and its children's over to Satan. Seriously, is this a joke? Question mark, question mark, question mark, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
I like how you strive for accuracy.
What you try to kids turn them into Gothic, Ghotic, or in Demon Cult? Are McDonald's that stupid?
She's actually pronouncing all of those accurately as well.
Oh my gosh.
Bruni tried to clarify. She emphasized the winky. She said,
she emphasized the winky?
By putting the word winky next to the winky face. Hey guys, hey, hi. This is a joke. Satire, sarcasm, hence the winky face. And the clear ridiculous of there being a Ouija board Happy Meal. And then, even crazier than that I would ever eat at McDonald's. Okay, all done. Phew, good night. But of course it wasn't all done. People continued to hyperventilate in poorly spelled and poorly punctuated posts. Rudy continued to point out that it was in fact a joke. On August 28th, Bruni tweeted the following, "True story. More than one person has wished death on me and or my family because I posted the McDonald's Ouija board Happy Meal joke." And people also fumed at McDonald's about it. By that time, the story was already on Snopes and had been for a day. McDonald's, as Snopes points out, in its fiendish cleverness, actually advertises past, current, and future Happy Meal promotions on their website. And guess what? No Ouija board. Usually for Halloween, they have a trick-or-treat basket or bucket. The Ouija board Happy Meal image comes from artist Newt Clement's Pinterest page. He photoshops fun, non-existent Happy Meals. The next two slides are a couple of examples. If you could put those up, there's one. And we have another one.
I love the little slide.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
there's another.
nice.
And
nice.
some of the others are actually inappropriate for children.
No.
There's a Cheech and Chong one. There's Clockwork Orange. They're pretty funny.
Hey,
They're not
everyone
real,
needs
though,
to find
but
a
they're-
niche, right?
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
However, while McDonald's isn't providing our youth with inconveniently shaped and folded Ouija boards, I mean, it just wouldn't work as a Ouija board at all, if you think it, whatever. You can pick up a real one at pretty much any toy store, as Bruni pointed out, quote, but for those concerned with the future of our children, you might want to march those pitchforks and torches right over to Toys R Us, Walmart, Target, etc. They sell, gasp, Ouija boards, millions of them a year to anyone who wants one. And I'm not sure if you know what she's actually trying to convey, genuine, whatever. Now,
Was there a winky face?
No. As any writing teacher
I don't
can
know.
tell
I
you,
don't know.
it is essential always to keep in mind who your audience is. Amy Bruni's Facebook audience largely consists of people who take ghost hunters seriously.
Winky face.
And ghost hunters have warned people in the past against using Ouija boards because they can invite to evil. Because apparently Grant Wilson thinks The Exorcist was a documentary. And yes, I know it was based on a true story, but still. So in future, Bruni could perhaps avoid causing a kerfuffle by keeping this audience in mind and also, you know, maybe crediting the artist, perhaps linking to his page, rather than just depending on a wiki face.
Nice. Good advice.
Unbelievable. And I hate to think that the ghost hunter was the voice of reason in that. That just is so depressing.
You never know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Lord.
Trying to get a photo up here real quick.
Of who?
Of something I mentioned earlier, and let's see how good.
And I was wondering, Eve, I saw you guys at TAM, right? Did you guys get copies of these?
No.
Nope.
You didn't get
No.
copies? Okay, well,
Mm-mm.
I put up a link on my website how to make these for yourself. They are my custom TAM Cards Against Humanity cards. This is
Cool.
Michael Jackson's Ghost. I've got some other funny ones here, but I can't sell them because they're Creative Commons. But you can go and print them out for yourself if you didn't get a chance to get them at TAM. Right?
Cool.
Got some fun ones like Jenny
Cool.
McCarthy and some other fun ones. Anyways, just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys.
Okay, while I was bumbling,
Guy.
I found the photo of the aliens guy there.
Oh, awesome.
That was just like out on the street corner. There he was standing
That's-
there. I said,
I
"Oh,
love
I
the
gotta get a
pants.
picture." I just love how he has the text just glued to his chest.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
shorts. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
some of the stuff you see at DragonCon.
If you think of it, Rule 34, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised that you didn't see someone who was dressed as an alien that had a thing that said Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Yeah. That would be good. I remember meeting Xenu outside the Hilton one year. I was just standing there.
You didn't have to pay all that money either.
I know. It's terrible. Oh, there's a great if you follow Scientology weirdness, and don't we all? There's a great video on Tony Ortega's blog. He does all the stuff.
I think I saw this one.
Yeah, it's like a recruiting fundraising video, and it's right here from the church in Atlanta. And it's the worst thing. It's just so embarrassingly bad. They've taken all these rock songs and made up lyrics, Weird Al style lyrics that are talking about Scientology fundraising.
And how much money you should give and how to take out a loan.
It's just so super blatant.
Oh,
it's so terrible, so terribly done that it's like, how could you guys put this out and not be embarrassed by it?
It's because it's a cult and they don't have a sense of... You lose something when you become a cult member. You lose a sense of taste and proportion and external reference, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was freaking weird.
Yeah. So, where are we in the show? Let's see. I guess it's time to tell everyone to get their books and do announcements and trivia and stuff. Answer to trivia, I think Amanda got it again. We may have to disqualify her at some point.
Yeah.
There's a limit.
But he is in prison. The best information I have is that he is in a prison in Montgomery, Alabama, and will be there until the year 2022, unless he's paroled early. So enjoy that. Announcements. Kyle has an article in the upcoming Skeptic magazine about bibis.
Bibis. Demon babies. The
There's
regular.
no skepticality this week, right? So nobody has a segment on that.
Right.
And that's that, I think. I don't know if I have a book. I'm going to have to dig something up at the last minute. Who's ready?
I'm ready.
I nominate Eve.
All right, Eve, go.
The unshakable orthodoxy of the medium is seen to be less significant when we find that she is apt equally to reflect the ideas of the magnetist, whether Catholic, Protestant, rationalist, or, as in the case just cited, Swedenborgian. And if some of the more marvelous phenomena of the trance are still obscure, they can at least be seen to fall into line with other mundane facts which do not obviously call for spirit intervention.
Okay. Who's next? Kyle, you ready?
Ooh, I don't think I am.
Okay, Bob.
Go ahead.
If Maria had not been inspired with energy and perseverance from above, she would surely have given up in despair, but she was not to be dismayed even by this discouraging reply. She inquired further and found that there was to be a service at 7 o'clock and that Mr. L. would be there a few minutes before that time. Resolving to return, she hastened to where she had some other business to transact, and was informed that the lawyer to whom she was sent would not be at home till after 7. This suited very well, as it allowed time to renew her inquiries for Mr. L. in the interval, and furnished an excuse for a late return to the convent. She walked about for another hour to while away the time, and returned to blank Street a little after 6.
All right, I'll go next. Give you some more time to get ready, Kyle.
Uh-oh.
According to the International Directory of Haunted Places, Russia has a haunting phenomena similar to those now reported around the world. However, a published photograph showing a Moscow ghost looks like nothing more than a wandering fingertip bouncing back the flash. Of more interest are the reported apparitions. At the Kremlin, the specter of Ivan the Terrible has reportedly been seen on several occasions. Most appearances occurred during 1894, prior to the wedding of Nicholas II to Alexandra, when Nicholas was to accede to the throne after his father's death. Purportedly, the phantom of Ivan brandished his scepter while flames danced around his face.
So, I am new. Real quickly explain the rules here.
Just read a short excerpt
Passage.
from any book you have at hand, and then we'll reveal what the books are later.
Okay,
Could
excellent.
be anything.
Okay. Friendship. All my friends are obsolete. My only friend has recently gone missing. Hey there, little fella. Will you be my friend? I'd rather not. Carlos told me you've got blank. And that's my book.
Okay. Good. All right, Eve.
My book is Frank Podmore, Modern Spiritualism. I don't have an interesting cover to show because it was a PDF. So I wrote it on a Post-it note.
The dreaded Post-it edition.
Yeah.
Very hard to get. Bob?
I have a tome called The Female Jesuit, also PDF. I don't see the author's name on here. It's The Female Jesuit or A Spy in the Family.
Oh.
So yeah, I think it's about a corrupted maid.
My book, I'm almost certain I've used before, so tough, is Joe Nichols' The Science of Ghosts. Part of his The Science of series, which another one is coming out somewhat soon, I think.
And my book, hastily grabbed from my bookshelf, and keeping with the theme of babies, is the children's book, All My Friends Are Dead. And
Nice.
Yeah, that Nigerian woman showed. No.
most of my friends are dead. Yeah.
Oh.
So that's
Oh God.
It's great read for kids if you have them. There you go.
And then get them the Dexter Happy Meal.
Wow.
All right. So, any last-minute questions or? Let's see any on the Q&A. You guys see any questions that we need to deal with? No, I don't think so. So I think
I
that
do like the word coined by Nathan, the McWeegee.
Yeah.
the McWeegee.
And actually, yeah.
That's actually, I think Snopes use that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And hey, Nathan, could you do me a favor and send me the name of that outfit that sent you guys the lock picks? For just not to be, I was trying to remember and I couldn't remember what that was. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap up. So this has been another episode of Virtual Skeptics. Let me get my music here.
We made it.
We
Yeah.
made it to the end. Here we go. All right. The Virtual Skeptics is an independent production of What'sTheHarm.net, Skeptical Humanities, Brian Gregory, ICBS Everywhere, and Doubtful News. Our logo was designed by Sarah Mayhew at sarahmayhew.com, and our theme music is by Musicant, and is used with permission.